Now let's understand about the web resources. Web resources in CRM are the virtual web files that are stored in CRM database and used to implement web page functionalities in CRM. These files can be of HTML, JavaScript, Silverlight, or any other supported types. So first let's see what are the ways to access the web resources, and then let's discuss more about web resources. So let me show you how we can access the web resources. So for that, I just have to click on this drop down and I need to scroll at the end, and here is the settings which I'm going to click on, and on click of the setting you will see the features like business customization. So we have to click on customizations, and here in the customization we need to again select the feature. Which feature would you like to work with? So we will select here customize the system feature, and in this you can see a component called web resources. So as I mentioned, these web resources are used to implement the web page functionalities in CRM. So you can see there are many, or you can see over here it shows that 3738 web resources available, which are actually supporting the web page functionality in this Microsoft Dynamics CRM. These files are either made with the script, or you can find some PNG files as well. You may find some HTML files, Silverlight files. So there are many types of files you may find in this web resources. CRM being a product comes with an extensive set of features and functionalities. However, most of the times you would have to extend these existing functionalities to meet your custom requirements. Extending these functionalities generally happens in two ways. Extending on client side using web resources and form scripting. Extending on server side require plugins, workflows, and web services. So let's understand first what is the use of this web resources. So as I mentioned that extending CRM on the client side is where web resources comes into the picture. So to understand clearly, let's consider the following ways, or let's consider some ways which we can use to understand the use of web resources. Let's consider that you have a CRM form containing certain fields. CRM provides out-of-box feature for basic validation such as mandatory fields, field length, etc. However, what if you would like to have a more complex validation, such as validating if the entered phone number is the correct format, or validating if the entered address actually exists, or if the entered SSN is correct? So on that time you need to have a web resource. Also consider another example, like CRM provides out-of-box UI, so that UI customization such as creating sections and tabs on a form or rearranging fields are actually in a limited way possible. However, if the client wants to build a custom page which shows all the functionality or all the information of a customer coming from their other ERP system, on that time you need to create a web resources. CRM comes with a standard ribbon bar which contains all the buttons and options. And in case if you want to add a ribbon button of your own, then again you need to use web resources. Another example could be, consider that you have an ERP system already placed. What if you would like to open some CRM screens from this ERP system? So on that time, again you need to write a web resource. You can always call any external web services in your server-side plugin code. However, what if you would like to call any external web services while you are still on client side? So whenever you are at client side, the only thing comes into the picture is web resources. So this way, every web resource can be accessed via its unique URL. You can either upload a web resource file, or for code-based resources such as HTML, JavaScript, you can even edit them directly inside the CRM. So basically you will be able to make some changes in this web resources by staying within a CRM as well. Since web resources are stored within a CRM, then they can be easily migrated from one environment to another, together along with any CRM customization. So that's another advantage of using web resources. So understand that what kind of or what type of web resources available. We already discussed that it could be a JavaScript, a PNG format, other HTML format, or any other GIF format. So let's see how many are there. So there are total actually 7 type of web resources. The first come as the web page, that is HTML. So this is the HTML. Let me just open it in a new window. So here you can see a HTML web page, which is a web resource that are called alert dialog view. Let me just click on it and open it, and you may come to know what exactly it looks like. So as it's a HTML web resource, you can see the details of it, like whatever description and name, all this general information is already mentioned. Then the important thing comes like what type of it is. So it's a HTML. You can use this text editor to edit it over here. You may want to create any custom HTML page such as maps, custom application page, etc. Then once you are done, you can place it inside your CRM form. So this is the way basically you can view it. You can even publish it. Let me just open this text editor. So you can see over here whatever the code will be. You can see over here the code for that. If you want, you can edit the code. You can add your own code. You can make a completely new web resource as well. But this way, basically it can be done. If you want to upload a file instead of using a text editor, you can use this button, choose file, and you can see that as I mentioned, every web resource will have its own unique URL. So you can see that over here as well. So that's it about the HTML web resource. Now let's see the style sheet, that is CSS web resource. So now to quickly find a CSS web resource, instead of scrolling here down or up, I will use this filter. So once I will click on this filter, you will see the arrow coming over here, and on click of this, I will be able to see there are many types of web resources, but we are discussing the top 7 web resources, and we were looking for style sheet CSS. So I'm going to click on it. I will filter it basically. So here you can see all these CSS web resources. So let me just quickly open one. So any CSS web resource is basically helpful or to help the HTML web resource. So you can specify that, like the display name and the general information about a web resource. I can say CSS web resource, and how you can say it's a CSS web resource is based on its type. So that type you need to decide whenever you will be creating your own resource. So here a text editor. On click of that text editor, you can see the CSS code over here, and you can simply use that or make change into that as per your need. And again a unique URL for this CSS web resource. Oh, that's it with the CSS web resource. Let's move on to the next type of web resource, and that is JavaScript. So again, I'm going to filter it quickly. So it's a script, that is JavaScript, and here there are many. You can see I will go with XML to JSON. As its name suggests, it is converting the XML data to JSON. So this is the general information and type along with unique URL. And I'm clicking on this text editor to see the code, and you can see over here a function x2js, which will be useful if you want to convert XML to JS. So this is the way you can write a code, and this is the way basically JavaScript web resource works. And next is data XML. So again I am selecting this, and you can see over here data XML. Data XML can be used to store any static settings or configuration data. So you can see that entity dictionary XML, this is the data XML. So it's in XML language, and type is this. Any settings we can store over here, and you can see over here the XML language code. Basically a setting is mentioned over here. So once we have that, the next type of web resource is image. Either it's JPG, PNG or GIF. So let me just quickly open one JPG image, and here I have opened it, and you can see this image, and on click of preview I will be able to see that specific image. So that's it about the image web resource. Basically there are three types of image web resource, as I mentioned, and the fourth type is again an icon, that is ICO. Then comes another type, that is Silverlight XAP. So Silverlight XAP will be used for any custom Silverlight application which is embedded within CRM. So currently there is no Silverlight XAP application embedded within the CRM, so that's why there is no web resource available. And then let's see the next, which is XSL. So XSL is a style sheet. Again, it's been not used or not created, so it's not showing over here. It is used basically to transform XML data. So XSL is to transform XML data. So it's about that. Now let's understand how we can create a web resource. So basically the popular web resource is JavaScript web resource, which are actually important type of web resource. As you know, because web resources deals with the client side, so we need to have applications of JavaScript in a CRM. So we will going to create a web resource of type JavaScript. Before proceeding further, let's understand the applications of JavaScript in CRM. So form event programming is one of the application of JavaScript in CRM. Form event programming is used to handle client-side behaviors such as what happens when a user opens a form or changes some data, moves through tabs. So to achieve this kind of event programming, such as client-side interaction, we have to write a JavaScript code and we need to add it as a JScript web resource in CRM. However, JavaScript code which we are going to write has to be used dynamic CRM XRM.page model and not the standard JavaScript DOM. Using XRM.page model in Microsoft way of coding, it ensures that any code you write using the model XRM.page will be compatible with any future version of CRM. So let's see how the web resource would be. Like, in addition of being used in the form event programming, JavaScript is used in other application of CRM such as OpenForm, View, endpoints to interact with web services. Referencing JavaScript code inside other web resources such as HTML web resource, we can reference it. Also, JavaScript web resource application could be ribbon customization. So finally, one of the other common use is a ribbon customization, such as display or hide ribbon buttons based on the some logic, or we can enable or disable any of the existing ribbon buttons based on some logic. Or we can also handle what happens when we click on specific ribbon buttons based on some logic. So we need to understand that whenever we will create a JavaScript web resource, it is going to use a XRM.page object model. So that XRM page object model is very important in terms of creating the JavaScript web resource. So let's click on this new to create a JavaScript web resource. It will open a window and I will write it as test.js web resource. And here again I will copy paste the same name and type, which is more important, I will select JScript, and in a language also I will select English. If I want to write any code, I can write it over here, otherwise I can simply choose a file over here. So what I will write is a simple JavaScript which is type or script. I will write it as text only. Here I will call a simple alert message. Hi. I'm going to close this script tag. So once you are done with this, you have to simply click on OK, and then you can save this. You can see that I got a unique URL over here, and then I'm going to save it, and it's been saved. So once it's saved, I'm going to click on publish, and you can see it's publishing my customization. It's been published now. Now you can see over here in the web resource, the web resource which we have created is showing over here, that is test.js web resource, and we have also published it, so we can use it on any of our form. So this way basically you can create a web resource and then you can use it on any of your form. So let me just close it first. Now to add the web resource we have created, let's go to the form which we have created for one of the extensions, that is employers. So I'm clicking on it over here, and you can see this is the data we have added in our previous session. Now I need to add the web resource on this specific employer form. What I'm going to do is first I have to go to the form. So if I will click on it, you can see this is the information over here, but it's of no required. Actually, I need to edit a form basically. So instead of going here, I have to edit the form. So I will click on this three dot and you can see the form editor. And here in the form editor section, you have to go to something called as form properties, which says that add scripts to the form events. Also, you can enable or disable the form assistant and navigation items. So I will click on this, and here's the add button. On click of this add button, I can add any of the libraries. So that libraries will be a kind of web resource. You can see over here, look for web resource and web resource lookup. And here I will type test. I will do a quick search, so it's not showing over here. So I need to make sure that I have added that web resource over here. So here you can see the web resource, that is test.js web resource. I'm going to select that and I will click on add, so that this web resource will be added to our form. So I have added the web resource in this form. This way you can add any of your web resource to extend the functionality of a form. So basically we have created a JS web resource, but if you want to add any existing web resource, that too you can add by clicking on this properties again, click on this add again, and here if you want to see specific type of web resource, then that too you can choose from here. So currently it's showing all these JavaScript web resource, but you can create your own HTML web resource too, and you can add that as well. Also, this form sections gives you an option to create a web resource simply by clicking on this new button. So here you can create any web resource of any type, and then you can publish it, and that will be available over here, and then you can add it within the form. So this is the way basically you have to go with web resource to extend your form functionality. So that's it for today's session. I hope you understood a lot of important features of Dynamic 365 CRM. Thank you for joining.